Hi there, I am Nu-Trix, and today we will dive into what's new about the Cubasis and other apps from Steinberg for the iPad. Cubasis is one of the few full-fledged DAW, traditional DAW that you see on the iPad. One of the advantages of Cubasis is that when you finish your track and you want to go further with the editing, you could take that file and load it into Cubase on your desktop DAW and then run with that. So basically what you have right now is a bunch of updates inside Cubasis, inside Verve, Etude, Iconica Sketch, HALion Play, which is the new one. So these are all the new stuff. There's new stuff for all of them. Let's say we create a new project. What's new about this thing? There's a lot of bug fixes. So most of it, honestly, is just having something more stable and more efficient and more workflow, more efficient. If you go into media, one new thing you have at the bottom here is the home button. If you click home, it goes back to what they used to be called hub, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's easy to just go back to this place or go back into your project. Also, when you go to mixdown now, in the create mixdown, you have a MIDI section. So you can also export the MIDI file mixdown of your song. So it's always a good plus for me, knowing that over the years I use different DAWs. If I look back on songs that I made in the 90s, the DAWs do not exist anymore. The sequencer that I had at the point do not exist anymore. Of course, 20 years later, 30 years later, they don't work. So having an exported file of a MIDI file from that song gives me the option of being able to load it back into a DAW today or any sequencer and revisit that song if I want to. So having this is always a plus. When you finish your work, I say back up and export the stems and export the MIDI file so you can later on revisit it if you want down the line in 30 years, let's say. What's also new is when you have a block of file here, when you have when you record something, you can also record automation. And when it's done, when you push this here, well, then it will copy also the automation on the other side. It will not just copy the block. It used to just copy the block and the automation would be kind of linear. Now it's part of a block, and when you copy it, it copies also the automation. So just a ease of use, I would say. The other thing that is interesting is when you move this around, now it's snap to grid, but the grid that you're snapping to is in auto mode now. The auto mode is linked to the zoom, the size. So if I'm zooming in and I'm going here, now I can actually take this and I've got a grid that is this one. If I'm zooming out, now the grid is bigger. So it will go with the zoom in and zoom out. It basically changes the grid like you see in a lot of computer desktop DAWs. Stuff that is always cool to have more. Another thing that is interesting is in the master here, in the master track, you've got a pin. You can pin down that fader, and when you move around, let's say you get more faders than you have on screen, and as you glide between all your faders, that one will stay on screen. So you always see the master fader playing as you're going through the other tracks, which was not the case before. So it's a big plus for me when you think about mixing here. So the rest of it is a bunch of new synthesizers, plugin that you have, or updates about them. Of course, they exist inside Cubasis, but let's look at them outside of Cubasis. You've got Verve, which is Verve in English, but Verve in French, because I'm French Canadian. Hey, bonjour à tout le monde. So Verve is really it's a cool piano, ambient, sometimes with violin. So there's a bunch of different presets you can play with. You get layers of sounds. So you don't have access to change everything in it, but you have enough access to be able to control things. So you have this first window, which is balance. Let's say play this, and then Kind of basically having the balance between two layers. Variation is there's different variation in the sound itself. Contour. In this case, controls some of the filters. You have also texture, so you can decide here to load the second sound. So there's different control over it. It's not, I mean, all of this existed in the Verve 1. What's new now is then when you go here and you go into your factory presets, you can really go, it's an easier way to manage them. And when you go to search, it will search inside subfolders also if you have them. If you have presets here and you have subfolders, it will also search into them. You can rename easily your sounds. There's 3 different ways to look at the keyboard here. You have the keyboard, and as you play it, you also have the sustain here. So you can turn it on by push it here, or you can actually press it. So I'm holding it by pushing on the sustain live. If I leave it at sustain, this is just bad notes that I'm playing. What's interesting also is you have 3 different ways to show it. You have width, the modulation, and the pitch wheel here. Of course, you have this way, which is interesting because you have so there are these different ways of playing chords in this case. You can create your own by pressing here on the setup, and then you create your own the way you want. You can control that here. So your choice. And in here, what's interesting also is you can decide how big the notes will be. We're talking the size of the keys, but also the width of the range, basically. The range that you're using on your keys. So well, that's the logic. These new features of Control 4 for the controlled part is something that was not there before in the other versions. We have the same logic with Iconica Sketch. So of course you can decide by clicking here. By clicking on these here, you're changing the playback mode. You also have this with this here. So as you're using a keyboard, it shows you now where to play the keys to switch these different playback, and then the range that this instrument can play. Because if you're doing a French horn, it only plays between these keys because the instrument, the physical instrument, is going to play lower and higher. So you see right away now the keys to control the playback mode and the keys of the range to play. So the update of the interface gives you that information that is also. The rest is what you just saw on the other app, same logic. Okay. HALion Sonic Play. So HALion Sonic Play is different because now it uses HALion. I don't know if you know HALion sampler playback. It was a huge thing when Steinberg released that late 90s. It was a huge sampler, would play a lot of sounds. So what you have right now is you have a lot of sounds. Part of this is just more than 2,000 presets. You've got the factory preset. There's a lot of them. You've got all these subgroups, these sub banks. You have expansions that can be added here. Okay, well now we also have control over some stuff. Let's close this down. Let's say we have this one. The filter. So you can do some sound design. You got filter decay, amp sustain. You have this graphic, which is always fun to look at. You have this now, which is the step sequencer. You can go into step, or you can go into different arpeggiator type of mode. Now the next one is some control over the filter. You already have a filter in there. ADSR for the filter, ADSR for the amplitude, and the last one is basically tuning, octave, semitone, fine tuning, the pitch bend, how much a pitch bend you want to be affecting this. You want it to be mono or polyphonic. You want effects and layers. Right now there's 0 layers on this one. I don't know how you control these, but sometimes when you have layers, it shows you which one there is here. So I can do another video just about HALion Sonic Play because there's so much different sounds and this is just amazing. There's a lot of banks you can play with and you can just search what you're looking for. So this one also, what's interesting, if you download this and you install it, you have to buy it outside of Cubasis, and it works as a audio unit, AUV3, for any other DAW. It doesn't have to be in Cubasis, but of course if you have Cubasis, it will also install inside Cubasis on top of being a external standalone AUV3. In a nutshell, that's mostly what you have. Outside of all of this, you have a lot of bug fixes. So it's really just having a better tool to do your music. That's it. That's what's new from Steinberg on the iPad. Stay safe, make more music, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.